Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. So now we're moving on to iqtida'un nas. What is iqtida'un nas? Iqtida'un nas is is basically we derive a meaning from the text, a hukam from the text. La yumkinu al-amalu bin nas. It is not possible to do amal upon that nas, to act out on that nas, amalan aw i'tiqadan. To do amal on that nas, illa bi sharti taqaddumihi alay, unless we assume except on the condition of that iqtida'un nas preceding the text. Let's explain this. Let me give you an easy example here, and I go back to that one. حرمت عليكم أمهاتكم وبناتكم وأخواتكم وعماتكم. So in this verse, in the end of the fourth juz, beginning of the fifth juz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, حرمت عليكم أمهاتكم. Your mothers are haram upon you. What is haram upon you? Hurma is not linked to an ayn, a thing. It's linked to an action. So mother is not haram. Like, what is haram? Haram is marrying her. Marrying your mother is haram. So this text, let me say, your mother's haram. What is haram? Is it haram to look at her? Is it haram to talk to her? Is it haram? So no, it's haram. Hurrimat nikahum alaykum nikahu ummahatikum. That is the ruling. Iqtida'un nas. If you don't assume the word nikah, well, everybody knows it, like it's so obvious. But if you don't assume the word nikah, you can't. This verse doesn't make sense because mother is not haram. The nikah of the mother is haram. You following? So iqtida'un nas, go back to the previous text now, is that ruling or that word or that ma'na or that hukam you have to deduce, because without assuming that, without having that being there, the text would not make sense. And he'd give an example here. Let's do this second. Let's do the first. كَقَوْلِهِ alayhi salam, I think what's missing here. Alayhi salam. Alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says in a hadith, is mashhur ma'nan, رُفِئَ an ummati al-khata'u wal-nisyan. That khata, mistakes and forgetfulness has been lifted away from my ummah. Yes? Do you ever forget anything? Has anybody ever forgotten anything? You always forget. You forget sometimes which rakat you're in. Sometimes you forget that you're fasting and you eat. Sometimes you forget to do something, perform a wajib. Yes? So when it says you make a mistake, we do a mistake, you slip, and your pen falls or knife falls and it slips and falls on somebody's foot and cut their foot. So when it says khata, mistakes and forgetfulness has been removed from my ummah, we still make mistakes, we still make forgetfulness. It means what? Hukmuhuma. What's iqtida'un nas? Ay rufi'a ummati hukmul khata'i wa hukmun nisyan. Or we can say here, instead of hukm, I don't think hukm was right, because you also have hukm of nisyan, isn't it? If you forget to do something, you still have hukm for it. I would say here, ithmu is probably a better one. Probably Mr. Sayyid more knowledgeable than me, but maybe the word ithm is probably better. The sin of khata, if you make it, because the hukam of khata is not gone. I don't think hukam is right. Because if for example, manslaughter, you made a mistake, you were shooting an arrow and it slipped from your hand and it went that side. You're pulling and it slipped and it went that side and it hit somebody. The ruling is still in place, but the sin is not there. So it means here, the sin of mistakes and the sin of nisyan has been removed from this ummah. If anybody makes a mistake or somebody forgets something, the consequences in terms of sharia, the hukam will be there. So that's a question mark there. But the sin will not be upon him. He will not be sinful in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if it's a genuine mistake or genuine forgetfulness. Do you understand? So we have to say this text does not make sense because every single believer makes a khata and a nisyan in his life. So when the Prophet said rufi'an ummati al-khata'u wa nisyan, it means rufi'an ummati iqtida'an. We say ithm is murad. We say iqtida'an ithmun nisyan is murad. Does everybody understand that? Everybody with me? Yes, any questions? Okay, let's go to the first example. In the first example, he's saying, if a husband says to his wife, if I say to you, Ana ja'i'un, I am hungry. What does that mean? Ana ja'i'un is a jumla khabariyah. I am informing you of a state that I have not eaten, so therefore I am hungry. Get me something to eat. So Ana ja'i is a khabar informing you of a state. Similarly, anti taliqun, when a person says to his wife, anti taliqun, you are divorced. This is the khabariyah. You are divorced. And the rule is, in the sharia, when a mukallaf, a person who has intellect and understanding and faham, he says something, then the default is that we must take that word to mean something. So the word anti talikun, yes, if we say, for example, if we say anti, if I say, for example, anti akalti, when will anti akalti be correct? You have eaten. When she ate before. So by giving the statement anti talikun to jumla khabariya, this would mean that what? يقتضي ثبوت الطلاق. So anti talaq is jumla khabariya, that you are mutallaqa. When is she mutallaqa? When the talaq took place before. So when you say anti taliqun, we will assume this statement is going to be true. So therefore, it would mean talaqtuki fa anti taliqun. I have given you talaq, hence therefore you are now in a state of being taliq. So the word anti taliq was a khabar. It's not an insha. It's not like you're given talaq linguistically. It's a statement. But this would only be true if talaq precedes it. So anti taliqun via iqtida'un nas would necessitate that talaq took place before it. So we say here this sentence or something like this will be mutaqaddim. So the anti taliqun is correct. Do you understand what's happening here? Okay. Now let's finish this off. So yathbutu al-muqtada. Here's muqtada. So muqtadi, iqtida'un nas, is to demand something from the text. And muqtada is that thing which is demanded. So for example, hurrimat alaykum ummahatukum. This nas does iqtida. It is muqtadi. What does it do iqtida of? It is muqtada. And the muqtada is the thing that is necessary. The nikahu ummahatukum. So the muqtada yathbutu bizarura is a necessity. Is you only bring that about because you have to. Had you not brought this little word in between, the text would not make sense. The ruling would have been incorrect. So the muqtada is established zaruratan. It's not like we're just adding things willy-nilly and just adding as we want. We only add it in iqtida'an when we have no choice. Zarura, it is necessary. It is no other alternative. Therefore, you understand the first part? You only have iqtida'un nas. The muqtada is established or thabit zaruratan. Therefore, the rule of usul al-fiqh is what? الزرورة يتقدر بقدرها. You've already done this in Quduri. That when you have a zarura, you can only, the zarura only allows the minimum, the bare minimum. So for example, if you're starving, then haram food becomes halal. You've done this already in Mustar. So therefore, you can only eat that amount which will stop you from dying or stop you from severe bodily harm. You can't eat to your food and say, well, it's haram, it's halal now, so I'm going to eat to the food and start burping over. That's not haram. That becomes haram. So the rule is az-zaruratu yataqaddaru biqadriha. When you have something is zarura, you're only allowed to do that much. Understood? So therefore, because iqtida'an, when something is thabit iqtida'an, you would put the bare minimum mahdhuf. Nothing more than this. As a result, if a person says anti taliqun, when would anti taliqun become correct? When you assume that this khabar is based upon a previous muqtada. The muqtada is talaqtuki. But it's talaqtuki. How is this talaqtuki established? This text talaqtuki, how is it established? How is it established, anybody? It is established how? Iqtida'an. And iqtida, is it a zarura? Is it a zarura, isn't it? Correct? Because it's a zarura, to make the word anti-taliqun, we're going to have to assume something to be hidden, but we'll assume the bare minimum. What's the bare minimum? 1 talaq. Therefore, if he said, I meant 3 talaqs, I said anti-taliqun, but I meant 3, we said no, only 1 will occur. If you want to give 3, you have to repeat the words again. Because anti-taliqun is really brings about talaq iqtida'an. Because it brings about talaq iqtida'an, it will be yataqaddaru biqadriha, and the zarura that we need to make this text correct is 1 talaq. So therefore, anti-taliq will only allow 1 talaq. You do not have the possibility to change this with making it 3. If you want to make it 3, you have to do another 2 utterances of talaq. Does that make sense? So the zarura, the muqtada is zaruratan. So therefore, we'll establish the bare minimum, and the bare minimum in anti-taliq is 1. So therefore, you cannot do niyyah of 3. So now we have here a summary. We have that we finished the taqsim. So we have taqsim al-awwal is khas, am, mushtarak, and mu'awwal. And this taqsim is based on how the word has been coined. The second taqsim is based on how the word is used. It's been coined for a meaning, but how is it used? Is it using that coined meaning or using another meaning? You have haqiqa, majaz, sari, and kinaya. And in sari, the word has been used, coined for one meaning, but it's used in other meanings. So if it's used in the explicit meaning, it's sari. If it's used in a meaning it's not commonly used for, it's called kinaya. In taqsim al-thalith, we have 8 words: clarity or disclarity, zuhur and khafa, zahir, nas, mufassar, al-muhkam, khafi, mushkil, mujmal, and mutashabih. And then the 4th one, we have how we do istidlal. We can do istidlal from the ibaratun nas or the isharatun nas, or we can do istidlal from dalatun nas, which is qiyas, which is so obvious. Linguistically, you know what the word means, you can then apply multiple places, no need for ijtihad. And iqtida'un nas is a meaning you have to assume, because without that meaning or that hidden word, the text will not be correct. And then he went on to explain one fiqhi furu, one fiqhi fara, one fiqhi juz, is that which is established zaruratan, you can only have the bare minimum. The muqtada is bare minimum, is yataqaddaru biqadriha. Understood? So now we finished Kitabullah. We've finished the 20 words or 20 terminologies of which we use to analyze text in the Quran. But as you see in the last example, we also use these rules in Kalamun Nas. So anti talikun and iqtida. That's not a Kitabullah. As I mentioned before, that we use these same rules in understanding language, contracts, texts, people's speech, disputes, etc. Okay, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.